Guys, it does me great pleasure to say that Kirby has had quite a great history since his jump to 3D. As time goes on, more and more games start to show up that feel like they justify the years and generations of fan bases begging for their existence. Dream games, essentially. Crash and Spyro got full-blown remakes, Pokemon Snap got a sequel, Sonic Mania exists. Fire Emblem is not only relevant, but it's a big deal for the company. These are all things that are just kind of accepted now, but that is after what felt like an eternity for the people that were asking for them. So, Kirby and the Forgotten Land. This is it. We're finally here. A fully 3D Kirby game. It's something that I and damn near everybody has been asking for since, I don't know, the original 3D quote-unquote debut with 64 The Crystal Shards 22 years ago? Regardless of the game's quality, this is a big deal. To say that I was excited for Kirby and the Forgotten Land, that would be a bit of an understatement. For those who may not be familiar with me, I am a hardcore Kirby fan. I've been there since the beginning, through all of the ups and downs with this franchise. I have been there for basically my entire life, and I don't think any single game in this series has ever felt as important or impactful as this one. I think it's important to view the Forgotten Land as the start of a new phase of Kirby. You see, the last 4 mainline games all worked off of the same gameplay loop. Traditional side-scrolling style with a new core gimmick in each game to spice things up from time to time. Definitely gave us some incredible adventures, but by the time Star Allies came around, the Pink Puffball's big HD debut, yeah, things were starting to get pretty stale. There were a couple of eShop games that were simple expansions of mini-games from existing handheld games. They popped up around this time. There was also a port of Epic Yarn for the 3DS too, which was really weird because the console was already basically dead at this point. Kirby was starting to feel fairly devoid of creativity as of late, that's all I'm saying. Aside from the lore, of course, because, oh my god, after the lore dump in Star Allies, I think, I think the developers really needed a nap after that insanity. But in a statement after all of Star Allies DLC was completed, the director stated that it was time to plan the next stage of Kirby. And, well, the only logical step was to finally take the jump into the 3rd dimension and finally flex some of that HD muscle for good. And the result? Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Yeah, there were plenty of reasons to be excited. Alright, that's enough preamble. Honestly, there was just a lot to go over to really understand just why this game is a big deal. But I'm really feeling that Kirby itch to scratch once again. Let's finally do it. Let's talk about Kirby and the Forgotten Land. The story begins with Kirby enjoying his carefree day around Dreamland when all of a sudden, chaos. This is the plot to every Kirby game. Big fan of Kirby's shocked face here, by the way. Big Patrick Star energy here. Up in the sky, a massive portal opens, sucking up everything around. Star blocks, Waddle Dees, a butterfly, oh god. And yes, of course, Kirby. We then cut to our hero waking up washed ashore on a beach in a totally different land, but in a setting that I swear I've seen before. And now, we gotta find out how to get back home. And also save a ton of Waddle Dees along the way. Whatever these odd little crow creatures have on their agenda, they are caging up all of the adorable Waddle Dees they can come across, and that is no good. Just look at how cute they are, they don't deserve that. We got a new friend joining us in our adventure too. This is Elfilin, an adorable flying chinchilla with massive ears, a big nick in one of them, and I didn't trust this little thing from the moment I laid my eyes on him. I will save the sweet details for a spoiler section later on in the video, but I mean, come on. His name is basically Elf Villain, and after the previous games, this series is one of the reasons why I have trust issues. In general, yes, it is a pretty straightforward plot. I know many are probably expecting as much, but considering we now find ourselves in, essentially, a post-apocalyptic world here, plus the pause screen no longer gives us our little nuggets of lore like it used to, which is kind of upsetting, I did honestly expect the game to go a little deeper into things, similar to how Planet Robobot did. We do get a lot of information by the end of the journey, but for basically the entire time up until that point, it's all just a means to do the typical lovely Kirby stuff of running, jumping, and inhaling, but this time in a 3D setting. Like, you have all of these new enemies and bosses as a part of the brand new hostile clan known as the Beast Pack. And again, while there is context given before the credits roll, it's all basically irrelevant until then. Big, scary, furry things bad, defeat them, easy peasy. Well, aside from Tropic Woods, actually, the Forgotten Lands Wispy Woods variant is the only end-of-world boss that isn't a part of the Beast Pack. He's just there. Though, to be fair, Kirby deciding to completely obliterate a tree just because he happened to run into it is basic Pink Puffball 101, so that checks out. As for why it's not in the Beast Pack, it's the Soul Patch. It's gotta be the Soul Patch. Maybe they'll explain that in the DLC. But yes, we are finally in 3D. This is so damn cool. There was always so much speculation at just how exactly this jump was gonna happen. Would it be like that canceled GameCube game, or go for a more puzzle focus like Blowout Blast? Maybe we'll try an open world playground, something like Mario Odyssey. Well, essentially what we got is something that leans a little bit closer towards 3D World here. Linear stages with a ton of wiggle room for exploration and secret finding. And it all looks absolutely gorgeous too. Kirby games typically do have a great art style, but there is something so magical about a platformer with massive landscapes that all feel like they're real natural environments rather than places feeling a bit too video gamey, you know? Like 3D World. From amusement parks and abandoned malls to more basic tropes like winter wonderlands and desert wastelands, this is definitely the best Kirby has ever looked. Not the most creative, Planet Robobot still takes that honor, but this is still really, really good. Check this out. You can walk with this Awufi enemy through the entire mall, and he's just going about his day. This game is amazing. And if you have ever played a single Kirby game before, it all clicks immediately. From the second you take your first steps on the beach, it is clear that Kirby controls like a dream in 3D. For one, he auto-runs now, that's really nice, as well as auto-swallows enemies as a default option, really like that as well. All of the included abilities feel great to control, hitboxes for the enemies are the perfect size, so much so that the engine was actually designed to register a hit no matter what, as long as it looks like such from the camera perspective, which is just such clever design. Projectiles have a little bit of auto-aim that ensure that you never have to be 100% precise to hit your target, but it doesn't guarantee a hit no matter what. It is just such good control, it feels so good, and then dude, Kirby has a dodge roll. First Pokemon introduced it with Arceus, and now Kirby. I am all for more games having dodge rolls, I'm just saying. And on top of that, if you time your dodge roll correctly, right as you're about to take damage, time will slow down and you can score some extra hits. This is perfect. Move over, Elden Ring, this is the game with superior combat. The levels also have challenges now. On top of collecting Waddle Dees that are hidden or simply a reward for completing the stage, there are also a lot of other little things to consider as you're playing. Finding secret rooms, removing a series of crudely drawn wanted posters, tackling some bosses either without taking damage or with a specific ability, bringing ducklings back to their mother. Oh my god, this is amazing. This is our primary replay value. The user interface is brilliant here too, by the way. If you happen to do one of the missions without realizing it, a little unobtrusive ticker will pop up to let you know, and then it just goes away. That's it. And if you finished a level while missing a few of the challenges, the game will show you one of them so you can now run through the level again looking for something new. I adore this idea. Older Kirby games have had a bad habit of hiding some unlockables behind really obscure methods. It certainly created replayability, but more so out of annoyance than intelligent design. Now that stages are more expansive than ever before, this was 100% the best way to keep the moment-to-moment gameplay interesting, and I definitely hope it comes back in the future. And this next part may be obvious, but the soundtrack is really damn good too. It's to be expected with Kirby, obviously, so yes, as we all anticipated, we have another full soundtrack of really, really great stuff, with catchy beats and immersive atmospheric jams all over the place. To be honest though, I don't think anything here really comes close to some of the series' best stuff, but it's still really rare to have a Kirby game with a mediocre soundtrack, and this is no different. Like, all of the level themes are either really, really good, or just kinda good, and that is a totally perfect range to have. Although, you know what, the Invincibility theme is now a sick rock guitar remix, so maybe I'm lying to myself here. Oh, and big ups to the King Dedede theme, by the way, because oh man, it is so good in this game. It's like the best it's ever been. Oh, and the design too! Dude, the king looks more like his Crystal Shards design than ever before, and that was like his best one. God, it's so good. I love it so much. I can't wait for them to change it in the next game. The two brand new abilities are also great additions. First off, there's Drill, which lets you burrow into the ground and then pop out, impaling enemies in the process, and Ranger. They gave Kirby a gun. Kirby's packing heat now. Everybody should be terrified. He's not here to save the world from the apocalypse. He's the one who caused it. Overall, we're only working with 12 abilities here. A shockingly little amount actually, considering the previous games had more than double that, but here they all have extra polish to ensure they play great in the third dimension. As a result, it actually doesn't feel like there's any filler here. Tornado is damn satisfying to maneuver, aiming fire in 360 degrees is awesome, and the same goes for Bomb. Being able to chuck the bombs in whatever direction you see fit, it's great. You can even upgrade abilities now too, making them more powerful and changing up some of their properties in the process. And getting to experiment with all of them and seeing what the upgrades bring to the table is so much fun. Especially in the boss battles. Honestly, jumping to this third dimension has given us some of the coolest fights the series has seen yet. It is awesome. The battle with Coraline, it's so good. Kind of a neat bit of fan service here too that I noticed. For the first time ever, Hammer has its own dedicated enemy with Mookie, and Tornado has its first ever boss with Florina. I don't know, considering these abilities have been here since the beginning, kinda cool there's now more ways to get them. Oh yeah, that's right, Upgraded Needle is another massive Kirby 64 reference too. I love it. The more references to 64, the better in my opinion. Now, Sleep is still as useless as ever, but hey, it heals you at the same time. And then when you upgrade it, you pull out an entire bed, so that's pretty good. But of course, the big new gameplay gimmick this time around is Mouthful Mode. It's one of the greatest names I've ever heard in my life. Dude, when the direct happened and they showed Kirby inhale a car, and then they just cut to gameplay like nothing happened, I lost it. I love this so much. Okay, so basically the world is now littered with items that are too big for Kirby to inhale and swallow like normal, but damn it, he's certainly gonna try anyway. A vending machine with a drink can ammo count, a light bulb to brighten up dark areas, car mouth lets you drive fast and furious, plowing through everything in your path. Oh my god, you could be a stairs. Oh man, you could be filled with water and have jiggle physics. This is incredible. Mechanically, this feels very similar to Super Mario Odyssey in design. You're always just happen to run into the object you need for a puzzle that is right ahead of you. You got floors that can very clearly be broken, well, there just happens to be a cone right next to it. Go for it. Half of the fun is really just watching Kirby operate with items that are simply too big for him to get his entire mouth around, but gameplay-wise, they're all given quite a wide range of utility. My favorite is probably the ring mouth, because not only is it visually incredible, but in practice, its wind bursts are not only very powerful against enemies, but they're also integral to moving within the boats, and all of the level designs around the boat are super fun. This is realistically why it is totally fine there are only 12 copy abilities in this adventure, because on top of that there are also 13 different mouthful modes to play around with, and they essentially act the same. These are just funnier. And if you're ready to put your skills to the true test, well, each world also houses a bunch of Treasure Road challenges, where you put up against a series of specific obstacles for whatever ability or mouthful mode they throw at you, sorta harkening back to the ability challenges from Return to Dreamland. These are all timed too, and man, it's not required to pass the target times for them. I'm pretty sure those don't work towards 100% completion, but man, I had to go for them anyway, and some of them, man, you really can't screw up a single time. They get stressful. Here is me being 0.32 seconds off from passing one. This is what true pain feels like, I think. Forgotten Land easily has some of the best utilization of abilities and general transformations this franchise has ever seen. This is a game where Kirby can both handle a gun and become a storage container. This franchise operates on a different level. I will say though, to counter those who will inevitably say I am way too biased here, that I do think that Forgotten Land isn't as groundbreaking or inventive as it could have been in this first 3D adventure. You know, Mouthful Mode is incredible, but if you treat it as a sort of copy ability adjacent option, then yeah, this can more or less be boiled down to it's the Kirby you know and love, just now in the third dimension. It didn't need to be any more than that. This is not a complaint. I'm just saying. Whenever you feel like taking a break and not continuing on your adventure, you can always take a pit stop back to your main hub world, Waddle Dee Town, where all of the little waddles that you've collected along your journey return to rebuild and reinvigorate the economy. There is so much to do here. This is where the ability upgrades take place using the rare stones that you get from the treasure roads as a currency. There's Kirby's house, where Nintendo likes to remind you just how many Kirby games they made in the last generation, as well as the primary location where you can take a nap Oh my god, these games are so damn adorable. There's gacha machines now too. You see, figurines are one of the main collectibles now, similar to the keychains and the stickers of Triple Deluxe and Planet Robobot respectively. And rather than grinding out some easy levels for the ones that you're missing, here is where you can use your primary star currency to get them instead. You can also zoom in on specific figures and watch Kirby look at them. Every model viewer in every game ever should have a giant Kirby in the background now, let's be honest. We got the Coliseum here, basically giving us the arena mode that we're all used to. Plow through all of the bosses and mid-bosses that you can in one piece, and get rewarded at the end. This is also where we find Meta Knight. I love that this is where they put him as a boss instead of shoehorning him in as a bad guy in the story. It is one of the better fights in the game too. There's this cool bit where he like puts his sword down for a second and you can inhale it and take the sword ability, and when Meta Knight realizes he doesn't have his trusty sword to go with, he will fly out, come back, and use the sword from Kirby's Adventure. This game is so cool. And no spoilers here, we'll talk about this later, but yes, the true arena equivalent, Ultimate Cup Z, is just as challenging as you would expect it to be. Expect a lot of torment. This is the home of 3 minigames too. First up, we have Waddle Dee's Cafe, where Kirby works retail, and you have to provide customers with their items in a timely manner, else they storm off in a huff. And there's a lunch rush portion too, where you work at a more intense pace. This, as someone who used to work retail in the past, does not really trigger the most positive of memories, but as a minigame, it's fun. I promise. Next up, there's Fishing Pond. Quite frankly, any game quickly goes up a few points if it has a fishing minigame. That is the rule. It's a series of quick-time button presses, all in an effort to get the big boy. Big fan of this one. And then, oh my god, it's Tilt and Tumble 2? No, sorry, it's Tilt and Roll Kirby. Whatever, it's the same thing. I'm calling it Tilt and Tumble 2. Using the Switch's motion controls, you roll these little Kirby balls to their destinations across 3 levels, as well as hard versions of those levels. Oh my god, please, give me Tilt and Tumble 2 already, Nintendo. Like, really, come on. You guys made the expanded eShop releases of the 3DS's sub-games. There's also that canceled Tilt and Tumble 2 for the GameCube prototype from back in the day. Give it to me. Give it to me. So yeah, overall, there is no shortage of things to do here. Between the score challenges of the minigames and the Coliseum, all of the treasure roads, gacha figures to collect, abilities to upgrade, on top of just a really fun adventure, that feeling of sort of being underwhelmed by star allies is not something to worry about here whatsoever. Forgotten Land nails it. I will say, I couldn't help but hope there was like a meta nightmare mode to unlock. That would have been amazing, given how minimal his role is in the campaign. But given how much is here, I really can't be all too upset. Much. May as well mention co-op here as well. Throughout most of the game, you can hand a controller to a friend and take control of Bandana D to save the day as a team. I love Bandana D as much as the next guy, but it is a shame that player 2 can't be their own Kirby. This means that only player 1 gets the full treasure trove of copy abilities and mouthful modes, while D is just kinda there. But the real crime is you no longer kiss your friends to share health, you high-five instead. 0 out of 10 game, Nintendo. It's pretty obvious by now, but yes, Kirby and the Forgotten Land is a massive success. It may not be the best game in the series, that is a debate that can go on for generations, but it's definitely the best since Planet Robobot, and the most exciting since, God, I don't know, Epic Yarn? I guess that was like the last time I saw as many people excited for a Kirby game before this, so yeah, it's a big deal. Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic game. The developers at HAL Labs should be very pleased with themselves. But now, let's talk about the end game. Okay, obvious spoiler warning here. We're going to be talking about a whole lot. So if you want to stay pure and you want to stay unspoiled, then go ahead and jump to this time frame and you will be safe. You still here? Good. Oh my god, what is this endgame? Hey, since you're now in the spoiler section, that means you must know about the mini-boss bridge level later on in the game. Well, check this out. If you go off the beaten path for the hidden Maxim Tomato and climb the building off-screen, go up this ladder, collect the treasure, and then jump through this window, you'll be thrust onto an alternate path of harder battles. But you already knew that, right? I mean, there's no reason to do it either. There's no unlockable or anything like that. Celebration of coins at the end just to say, hey, you found it. But, I mean, come on, you knew that already, right? No? You didn't know that? Well, I gave you the spoiler warning for a reason, you're welcome. Earlier on, I mentioned how when it came to the plot, we have essentially nothing to really work with aside from simply moving forward because that's the obvious thing to do. Well, that's until right before the final boss when the game gives you total whiplash. After taking down the mind-controlled masked DDD and freeing him from said control, our heroes try to make their escape. However, the king sacrifices himself to save a Waddle Dee that tripped, and we move on without him, being greeted by this oddly creepy title card for Lab Discoverer. Oh boy. In this elevator we find ourselves in, we suddenly get...
Automatic language detection activated.
Voice acting? And this oddly creepy audio that hypes up basically like a field trip to meet the ultimate life form, ID F86, a being that had to be contained because it was destroying everything in sight as soon as it showed up. We then cut to all of the taken Waddle Dees running on hamster wheels against their will, and then we hear about a warp experiment that failed that caused a portion of ID F86 to split off and hasn't been found since. We then go through these big ominous double doors and... oh! Hello! This is Leongar, the king of the Beast Pack, who tells us that F86 once gave people power, and those people left the world behind to enter a land of dreams. And now, Leongar hopes to get this power too, as well as the rest of the Beast Pack as a part of this forgotten land. Oh, he said it! He said the thing! All of those Waddle Dees spinning on those hamster wheels, well, that's to power this experiment. They weren't just being caged because they were too adorable, there was a much more sinister plot behind the scenes. You then fight Leongar, and of course, you take him down no problem, and then F86, whose actual name is Fecto Forgo, takes control of his mind, and then... everything shall be consumed! What the f*** is this franchise? But yes, okay, if it wasn't obvious at this point, Elfilin is the part of Fecto Forgo that split away, and all of the energy conversion with the Waddle Dees and the wheels, these multi-dimensional portals, mind control, this was all in an attempt to restore Fecto Forgo to full power. Oh man, okay. Oh hey, check that out, it escaped its confinement too! That's cool and not scary at all. Ah, it then absorbs the minions of the Beast Pack and grows into this obscene amorphous blob. That's the nightmare fuel I was waiting for. Then you gotta fight it while also running away from it. Oh my god, what what is happening now? Just when you thought you were safe, unfortunately, it is able to grab Elfilin and scurry up to the roof, where we now meet Fecto Elfilis, the true final boss. I will not shy away from it, I definitely got baited to thinking that Elfilin itself was the main villain, but you know what, man? I don't care. This is so damn cool, and Elfilis is such a fantastic design. Everything about this is exactly what I wanted. Oh god, and then the final segment. Okay, so then you defeat it, and then opens up one final portal and tries to bring the entirety of Popstar in to collide with the planet that you're on, but with perfect timing, a giant big rig comes in and falls to the ground, and then of course, you're able to mouthful mode it. Why wouldn't you be able to? And then you go on this insane race against time across these falling buildings as this rock remix of the Invincibility theme plays, and then you got some quick time segments that's pushing back Elfilis' energy, and then you obliterate it like it's a Dragon Ball Z villain. What did this game turn into? This is amazing. Finally, the day is saved. Elfilin sacrifices himself in the final moments to close the massive portal that's still there. It's obvious before the credits that he's actually totally fine. All of the members of the Beast Pack are now free from their mind control, and man, this was exactly what I wanted. I do kind of wish the game teased this a little bit more throughout the story rather than giving me extreme whiplash by the end, but honestly, that whiplash was part of the greatness. I fully expect Fecto Forgo, or something to that nature, returning in the future, similar to Dark Matter being a recurring villain of before. And I am very excited to see what insanity it'll bring with it. But that's not really the end though, because as a post-game, we then unlock the Isolated Isles Forgo Dreams, where you run through truncated and harder versions of every previous world, and collect pieces of Leongar's soul so we can go to where Forgo left him and restore him to his normal self, Leon. This is all a dream world created by Fecto Forgo in an effort to regain its strength, and build up an army of strong beasts in the process. When it comes to the gameplay here, I really like this. This does sort of act like the previous game's Meta Nightmare or DDD Tour, but you just play as Kirby here instead, and it does kind of double as a hard mode. Especially for the bosses, every single boss is harder, they have a new color palette, a bunch of new moves. Oh man, that's so cool. These are some of the best fights in the game, without a doubt. The game is also very friendly about letting you know if you've gotten every single soul fragment in an area before moving on to the next one. Thank God, makes this process a whole lot more seamless. It all culminates with a battle against Forgo Leon, where it becomes very apparent that Fecto is really trying its best to get its way. But because you're the almighty Kirby, you take Leon out like he's nothing, and then it's time to finally take out Sol Forgo itself. Uh-oh. Fun fact, every Kirby fan is afraid of butterflies. That's part of the canon. That one butterfly that got sucked in during the opening cutscene? Damn it, I should have seen this coming. Wouldn't you know it? It's Morpho Knight! Hey man, okay, going forward, if we're just gonna expect Morpho Knight to be the secret final boss rather than Galacta Knight, I will be more than okay with that. This fight is so damn cool, and I hate butterflies now. A lot of Fecto Forgo's powers can be seen in Morpho's moveset too. I'm pretty sure the idea is Morpho isn't just super powerful on his own, but he absorbs whatever he comes in contact with. The future of this dude is gonna be terrifying. But before long, you take him down as well, and we finally have the chance to restore Leon to his original pure form. And all is finally well with the world. Oh, but wait, we're not done yet! You see, now we go back to the Colosseum, where we have access to Ultimate Cup Z, where you go through all of the harder forms of the bosses from the isolated isles. And Morpho is here to fight, of course, as to be expected, but it turns out Sol Forgo gained a new body after absorbing Morpho Knight's power, turning into Chaos Elphalus. This never ends. Of course, it has a bunch of new scary moves to deal with, but okay, that's fine, you eventually take that down too, and then it turns into an evil blob of darkness, and then it quickly sucked me in and killed me, so that was fun. I had to do the entire Colosseum again after this part, so that's fine. You know, it's fine. Also, HAL Laboratories, you think you're slick, you're not getting past me. One of the moves here is a direct callback to Drossia Soul from Canvas Curse. Really, really cool. I am just so happy that no matter what this series does, what dimension we're in, where Kirby puts his mouth on, it's always a safe assumption that we're gonna attempt to dethrone God at the end. And damn it, Forgotten Land succeeds with that as well. I love this game so much. Oh man, okay, so yeah, that was a whole lot to go over. But yes, Kirby and the Forgotten Land. God, I am just so happy the era of 3D Kirby is finally here. In an interview with the development team, it was immediately confirmed that yes, there will be more 3D and potentially even 2D games in the future. The director believes that Kirby has, quote, unlimited potential, and he hopes the teams can be, quote, even more wild and free when it comes to following games. The years of mediocrity and subpar releases may be over, my friends. A new golden era of Kirby is here, and I cannot wait to see what comes next. It is a damn good time to be a Kirby fan. In the grand scheme of things, this is not my favorite Kirby game. Planet Robobot still has my heart, and actually a few other Kirby games as well, but if you wanted to make an argument that this is the best that Kirby has ever been, it would be totally valid. And considering Star Allies got a whole bunch of DLC post-launch, who knows, we may be revisiting this game in the future like we did with that one. With all that out of the way, I want to thank you all so much for letting me talk about Kirby for like 30 minutes. It's Kirby's 30th anniversary after all. It just made total sense. I felt a spark in me with this game that I haven't felt for this franchise in a long time, so that's pretty cool. But you know what's also cool is I recently surpassed 500,000 subscribers right around the same time this game released. That's pretty poetic. So I'm thinking, next time you see me, it's time to celebrate. We got chonky Kirby content coming up, so yeah. Stay tuned.